Well, that both was and was not what I was expecting. Well, folks, the final episode of Ahsoka has premiered, and I thought it was a pretty good finale. After what I thought was a somewhat disappointing penultimate episode last week, I have to admit, I was hoping for it to pick up this week, and I would say that it did. Not all of the plot points were tied up, but after last week, I didn't really expect them to be. I didn't think there was any way in the time that they could, and so I figured, yeah, we're going to have like a cliffhanger or something, which we kind of did. But let's start at the beginning. So yeah, Morgan Elsbeth becoming a full-on true Witch of Dathomir. And, when she's given Mother Talzin's sword, great reference there. I felt like it was a great resolution to the character. Her arc, such as it was tied up in a bow. We get more of her motivation too, I believe, later on when she's volunteered by Thrawn to stay behind and distract Ahsoka to give them more time. Thrawn declares, as he's leaving, for the Empire. But under her breath, she changes it to, for Dathomir. It makes more sense to me that she would have done all this for Dathomir rather than the Empire. It also gives her death a more tragic edge later on. All this she's done is for her home and her people, and she dies for it, which is kind of sad. I mean, at the beginning, I have to admit I wasn't really invested in her character that much. But, she seemed kind of generic, but this episode really, I felt, made her more interesting. I would love to get a novel exploring more of her origin and her motivations and reasons behind all this. And moving on to other characters, I think a lot of people were disappointed that we didn't get some big argument between Ezra and Sabine because of the deal she made to find him, but personally, I'm glad we didn't. I get tired of that sort of overdramatic storytelling, people. There really wasn't time to tackle all that, and I think it fits anyway with Ezra's character that he would just be glad to be rescued at this point. I mean, yeah, Thrawn's out too, but that doesn't undo what he did to free Lothal. Thrawn did disappear. The Empire was overthrown. Yeah, he's got to do it all again, maybe with help from his friends, but he still succeeded in that Lothal battle and rescued a lot of people, saved their lives, so it's not like his work was undone, and, now he's home. Speaking of that, skipping to the end, that reunion between him and Hera was almost perfect. We just needed Zeb. Seriously, they already had the character model built for The Mandalorian. Why couldn't they have at least included a cameo in this short scene? Oh well, it was still pretty cool though. Mary Elizabeth Winstead did a great job, I thought, with the acting. When she saw him, looked really surprised and shocked and happy to see him. I love Chopper going up to him, recognizing him kind of like a dog, even while he's still in disguise, just like, like a dog recognizes somebody from their scent or something. I don't know if that means Chopper can scan him or something, but it's just, I thought that was kind of fun. I also really liked the scene where he was building his lightsaber. I don't know if that opens a sort of, some questions about kyber crystals. Like, I guess there must have been some on the ship, but there was that whole big thing in other media about a Jedi having to go on a journey to find just the right crystal. Kind of like in Harry Potter, the wand choosing the wizard. I guess he just kind of had to build one. There wasn't really time for him to do all that, or a way for him to do all that. I mean, it makes sense. It doesn't bother me. I just wonder, does that mean that this won't work as well for him? I say, it doesn't matter. The important thing, he has one. After last week, I was a bit afraid we wouldn't get to see him using a lightsaber, but thankfully I was wrong. Speaking of using things, Sabine finally using the Force felt fitting somehow. I was kind of unsure at the beginning of the series if I liked the direction they were taking her in with the whole Jedi stuff. I'm still not sure, but I do like the idea that anybody can use the Force and you don't necessarily need like a ridiculously high midichlorian count or something like that. To me, it kind of makes it more interesting as a skill you can learn rather than a thing you're born with. It's kind of like, in real life, there are some skills that people are more talented at, but that doesn't mean that other people can't learn them. It also helped to tie her arc up pretty well. It was somewhat predictable, but it worked. As for her reconciliation with Ahsoka, it was nice. I feel like that whole arc between them would have meant more had we seen them together before the split, But since they didn't really interact a whole lot in Rebels, I just think it still feels kind of odd. I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, I'm okay with it, but I feel like it didn't really have a true emotional impact because we don't have an impact with that part of their lives. Like, we don't have a connection, rather, with that part of their lives. But, it's fine. As for Ahsoka, is she a bit too zen now? Just like at the end, giving up and saying, time to move on. They gotta find a way back. Surely they're gonna find a way back. Before I get to the cliffhangers, though, I just want to say the action in this episode is really good. I liked the bit with the zombie night troopers. I thought that was kind of really dark, but really kind of cool. I was one of those people who, when they were introduced a few episodes back, I thought they were all zombies, and I think a lot of people did. It certainly seemed to be presented that way, but it was kind of fun, interesting, though, how everybody thought that they were wrong, but it came to be later on, at least to some of them. So yeah, that was really creepy. That was interesting. So does that mean, if they can't die, are they still roaming around on that planet? Are Sabine and Ezra, while they're taking care of living with the turtle people? I think they're called the Noti. I just like calling them turtle people. Are they going to run into these night troopers and have to defend themselves from these undead stormtroopers? That's kind of a scary thought. But yeah, going to the end, as many felt like we kind of would, we did get a cliffhanger. In a way, we got several. Thrawn back in the galaxy, Shin leading the Avengers. Sorry. Scavengers, apparently. Sorry, it's late when I'm recording this. I'm kind of tired. Yeah, it feels fitting with her character. I still feel like there's a lot of places her character could go now that she's been kind of abandoned by her master. I feel like there's so much more you could do with that, and maybe they will in future stuff. I don't think we're done seeing any of these characters except for one, which I'll get to later. It'll be interesting if a future season or something picks up on this planet. I wonder if it's going to pick up with Ahsoka, Sabine, and the Noti are maybe constantly they're defending themselves against Shin and those scavengers, and then maybe when they get a chance to return to the galaxy, they have to team up with Shin in order to do it. That would be kind of cool. The cliffhanger I'm most intrigued by, though, maybe surprisingly, is not even Thrawn being back. It's what's happening with Baylan. That shot of him and the Mortis statues was not a coincidence. They're there for a reason. In case you don't know who those statues were, it appeared to be the father and son from the Mortis arc from the Clone Wars. I don't have time to go into it here, but it's a 3-part story arc from the Clone Wars where they come across these, the father and the son and the daughter. They represent, the daughter represents the light side of the Force, the son represents the dark side, and the father represents, the balance. It's an interesting 3-part story. I believe if you want to see it, I believe it's episodes, I think it's 15, 16, and 17 of season 3. You might want to look it up just to double check me, but I think that's what it is, of Clone Wars. But yeah, I'm intrigued though, not only by what he's actually trying to do, but by how that story is going to move forward with the tragic passing of actor Ray Stevenson. I can't see them in this day and age recasting the character, although I suppose that is a possibility, but without him, I really have no idea where this could go. Are we just going to jump forward in time to where he's dead or something, and maybe Shin picked up where he left off? I don't know. It could be interesting. I really have no idea where it'll go. And speaking of where things could go, this whole show, between that and Thrawn being back, I feel like it's just all a big setup for so many interesting possibilities for the future of Star Wars. Even though I don't hate the sequel trilogy like so many do, I feel like this is kind of setting up to be a better and more fitting sequel period to the originals. I know that, Luke, Leia, and Han aren't all over it, but their presence is still felt, and it just feels like a better successor. I have a feeling Thrawn is going to have an impact not just on a second sequel or second season to this, rather, but also on The Mandalorian and any other show or movie set within this era, maybe even Skeleton Crew. All until that big Filoni crossover movie to tie it all up, which I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, there are so many ways this could go. I'm not sure, but I would love to read your theories in the comments below. You guys usually end up way smarter than I am. So it's fun reading people's theories. I'm not very good always at coming up with theories myself, but it's fun reading other people's theories. So I would love to read yours. And all in all, I would say Ahsoka has been a great show. It wasn't perfect. Some of it didn't quite work for me, like the appearance of Ezra being so downplayed and the pacing being a bit slow at times, but overall I would say I really, really enjoyed it. And while it's maybe not my favorite Star Wars show, it's up there with my favorite Star Wars shows. Overall, I'd give the show 8 out of 10 overall. But let me know what you guys thought, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.